afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. I'm your host, Andrea Epi. Welcome, everyone. Today is day 9 of our 2-week challenge, so this is the very last day. Good job to everyone who's been doing all of the challenges. I've been looking at your work, and thank you so much for sharing those. So I'm excited to round out this 2-week challenge with a very fun one today. So welcome everyone in the chat. Hope you guys are having a great day. It's a beautiful day here in St. Louis. I'm excited to get outside after this, enjoy the nice weather. We've got Corby, Laura, Sam, Aaron, Yuhi, Shams, Tabish, Shannon, too many of you guys. I can't even say it, you all. Joshua, welcome everyone. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and hop on over to Behance if you wanna follow along with me. So this is behance.net/challenge/XD. And we can go ahead and get started and see what today's challenge is. So as always, go ahead and register with that big blue button up here. And that way each day at 8 a.m., you'll get a notification in your Creative Cloud up here that there is a new challenge. Of course, today is the last one of this series, but don't worry, because on Monday we'll have a new host and a new set of challenges. And if you want to be notified about that every 2 weeks, there's a new host. You can just sign up right here to be notified about that. Press that subscribe button. So, of course, every day we're live at 2 p.m. Pacific, and let's go ahead and scroll on down and see what today's challenge is. So we've already completed all of these. So really props to you guys that have done every single design these 2 weeks. So today we're going to work on component states for a furniture store. So we're going to be designing the product details page for an online furniture store and allow users to choose color, texture, patterns, whatever you think would be useful for something like that. And we're going to be using component states. And as always, I like to give you guys a preview. So this is a preview for today. Kind of like a modern looking, just choose any sort of furniture that you would want. And I'm going to be doing a mobile app. So let's go ahead and preview this. So we've got these little areas where we can kind of tap into, and these will be our components. And then we can, go through, choose a different, if it's like texture, like velvet, or, just a color like this. Or maybe even down here, we've got some different metal colors. So we'll mess around with all of that. It's going to be a fun one. Let's see. As always, of course, be sure to join our Discord if you want feedback on your work. So if you just scroll on down to the bottom of this page, you can hit join us right there. And this is Discord. Lots of stuff going on in here. We've got a bunch of channels over here if you want to explore some of those. And if you do want feedback on any of your work during any of these challenges, just put it in here, this current challenge channel right there. And then you can see who's online, our mentors that are giving feedback. And yeah, just get some inspiration from what everyone else is doing. A little bit of a tongue twister. Yeah, so we'll look at some of these towards the end of the stream if we have time. But thanks everyone for sharing your work. All right, let's go ahead and hop back into XD. Awesome. Welcome everyone who's just joined. Julie said, just made it. You did. Ariana, welcome. Shams, Richard, all of you guys are here. Okay, so let's go over here. So this is the starter file, of course, what it would look like when you download it from Dropbox. And as always, I do give you the resource booklet over here with all of the, let's hop into the design tab, all of these different tabs with like resources, just some different sites that I find helpful myself. But you will not have the rest of these components because I love for you guys to get creative and come up with your own colors and stuff. So if you're looking for those, they won't be there. That's like my most common question, I feel like. All right. So we're going to be working here in the components tab or panel, I guess, which is right over here. And you won't see anything if you don't have something like a group selected. But when you do, then you'll be able to press this little plus icon right here. So that's where we're going to be working. And there's a few great examples out there. Like I said, you can do mobile if you want, or if you want to do web, that's totally fine too. But I liked these examples. Just keep in mind that if you are doing mobile and you want to do something like this, you'll have to do tap, because you can't really do hover on mobile. There's no way to hover. So just keep that in mind. I've made that mistake before. This one, I just loved this one by @Julia on Dribble. I love the colors. I mean, obviously that's IKEA's colors, but the contrasting between the blue and the yellow and the gold accents, just so nice. I love that. Don't see bold colors like that too often. All right, so today's tips for the furniture customization. So you might want to start with a way for the user to select some options. So that could be drop-down menu, some radio buttons, hover, if you're on desktop, of course, or just something else. And when providing options that describe something else on the page, it's always good to use a visual representation of that product. So if you have a couch, for instance, and you're changing the color of the couch, actually show that changing. Or if you show the product like growing, like we did with the smoothie one, show something actually growing while they're changing those selections. Yeah, and of course, be sure to share your work on Behance and Discord when you're done. Behance with that keyword XD daily challenge. All right, so let's start designing. I've just got one artboard already started. This is, let's see, I usually just go with iPhone XS, this top one up here. I feel like that's usually most common. And I'm gonna start by just dragging in one of my chairs. So this, obviously you can use any piece of furniture that you want. This is from Adobe stock. And the trick, if you want these to be kind of changing colors and stuff, is to bring this into Photoshop. And then, for instance, I'm not going to show that whole bit, but if you do bring it in Photoshop, you can change like the color of the metal, like this one. Or we've got pink metal, or we've got some black metal, just while we're tapping through some of those components. So that is one way that you can change it. Or an easy way that I love to do all the time, kind of a little shortcut, is like, let's change this to blue. And you guys probably already know what I'm gonna say. Use the blending modes. It's always a great little hack. And then for this, I'm just changing it to hue. And if you are gonna be doing the blending mode, you might want to, before you pick a photo, keep in mind that it's easier to use the blending modes if you have a lighter color piece of furniture. So like white or yellow is pretty light. If you use a darker color, usually doesn't work too well with those blending modes. So something just to keep in mind. All right, so down here, let's start adding some details. This will be the detail area. So I'll just say like what this chair is called. So modern curved bubble chair, kind of bubbly to me. And let's change this font a little bit larger, about 24. And the font that I'm using today is new, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Haas Grotesque Display Pro. Quite a mouthful. And then we'll give this just a little bit of a description. So let's say this chair is super comfy. And let's make this a little smaller. Let's see, like that, 12 or so. I usually try to keep the body text around like 10 to 12 pixels, otherwise it gets a little too big. And then I'm just bringing this down because I want the main focus to be on the title up here. And then let's just fill the rest of this in with some placeholder text. And I'm using this plugin called Lorem Ipsum. So it will fill in the rest for me. Perfect. Makes things super quick. And I really only want like 3 lines, I'd say. Don't want them to be reading like a book or anything. All right, then we need, of course, a call to action, CTA button. So let's add that. Some way for them to actually add it to their cart so they can purchase. And I'm gonna make this black. Let's give this some rounded corners. And let's add that text. So I'll make this white and I'll just say add to cart like that. Bring this down and just center it in there. There we go. Group those two. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Richard's talking about pepperoni with some ice cream. Got some ice cream emojis. I don't know how you guys got on that topic, but that's making me hungry. Pizza Hut. Pizza does sound good. All right. Now we need the price, of course. So how much is this going to cost? Although I feel like the really high-end places don't even tell you what the cost is. You just like find that out at the very end. But I want people to know that. And price. Let's make this smaller as well. Again, I don't want this to be the main focus, so just bring that opacity down. And the other thing we need is the quantity. So how many is the user going to buy? So let's add a little drop down up here. And normally I would make drop downs like a dark color, but since I don't want this to compete with this black CTA button, this is the main call to action. So I'm gonna make this gray, no border, just a little bit smaller. And then we'll say 1. And let's make this a little smaller too. About 18. That should be good. Okay, I like that gray better. And we also need a drop-down arrow. So let's add that right there. Move this over just slightly and group those two. Perfect. Okay, so the bottom looks pretty good. Then at the top, looking a little empty. So we need to add something up there. So we need the cart or the basket icon, of course, so they can go to their cart and see all of those items that they're gonna check out with. So let's add that. Usually it's at the top right. At the top left, maybe they can go back to like a whole list of furniture that they're browsing through. So I'm gonna add this back arrow, just making sure it's kind of like centered with that middle line there. Visually it doesn't look that great, so let's move it down a bit. Sometimes, I know I've mentioned this before, but sometimes you just have to visually align things to make it look better instead of like aligning it perfectly with something, especially since we have this circle border right there. All right, and then in the center, it's still a little empty. So let's add a logo and we'll say just like the Chairco. Again, really creative with the titles, I know, guys. Chairco. And then we'll make Chairco a little bit bigger. This we can make a little smaller. Kind of want to just set that like right there. Kind of minimal looking. Minimal and modern. And we'll bring this down a tad bit. Okay. So, I mean, that looks pretty good. I really want the photo of the furniture itself to really draw all the attention. So generally with like product websites, I try not to add too much color in other places like, you know, the buttons or drop downs or anything like that to really just draw your attention to the main focus, which is the chair. All right, so now let's start changing the chair colors. First, we need some sort of like button or toggle, some way to actually click on these things to change those colors. So I'm going to use, I've just got a few little circles here. So let's say they can choose the color of the actual fabric. They can choose the texture, maybe that's like velvet, and then maybe metal. So whatever color this metal is down here. And then we can make those drop downs with components. And I actually already made these components, so I'm gonna unmake them components so we can show you guys from the beginning. On group and on group. So you know if they're components if you select it and it has that little green border around it. So right now they're not components yet. All right. Oh, one thing I wanted to add that I think kind of helps with product photography is just adding a super subtle gradient behind it. So I'll come over here to my linear gradient, and I'm honestly just going to keep this one that it automatically goes to, just a sort of gray one, gray subtle. And then in blending mode, I'm going to change this to multiply, but let's send it back a little bit. So it kind of looks like a little bit like a spotlight almost. Really focusing in just on that area. And then I'll bring this down very low, maybe like 10 or so. That looks nice. I like that. All right, so now what I want to do is let's go ahead and make this circle a component. So let's come over here to our components tab or panel and press that plus icon. So now you'll see it says component main. So this is our main component. So if we make new instances of this, so if I copy and paste this, this will say instance. So if we want to change anything in this one, we need to come back here to this main one and change this color. And that way, all of our instances, like this one, will be changed as well. So just keep that in mind. If you're changing it, it's gotta be main. All right, so we've got the default state right here, so that'll be closed. And let's just make a new state also called closed, so we know. Now we can make a new state. This will be opened. And from here, I want to have a little, it's not a drop down since it's going up, a drop up sort of area. And we can put this in here. So make sure you have your component selected and that you're not on the closed state, that you're on the open state. So we can double click in here, paste that, and these I actually want to be, like right now they kind of look overlapped. So let's just go into the Pathfinder tool and make sure those are just grouped together. All right, so we've got our closed and our opened. And before I get into adding any of these circles, let's hop into the prototype tab and we can go ahead and just add some triggers. So from default state, we want to add an interaction. So let's press this little plus icon and we've got the tap trigger right here. And you can choose whatever action you want. I usually, for things like this, we just want it to be automatic. So we can do a normal transition. Doesn't need to be auto animate. And then for destination, you'll see down here, we've got a line dividing between our artboards, but also our states in this particular component. So we want to go to the opened state. And then same with this one, we'll add just kind of the same sort of transitions. Closed will go to opened, and then opened, we'll want to go back to closed. So let's do that. All right, so let's go ahead and preview this. And when you preview, make sure that you go back to your closed state or whatever your default state is. It's the same thing, really. Before you start previewing. All right, so we go over here, tap, and we've got our little drop up arrow, not really drop down. Okay, so now within that, we can make a new artboard. And this, we'll set this to opened. And now within this, I want to make some of those different shapes. So let's just do repeat grid. And I want this to be a bunch of different colors. So let's make these, I'll do about 5 or 6 maybe. And make this a little smaller. There we go. And then I'll just change some of these colors. So pink, blue, green, we've got an orange, and we've got a purple. All right, and then in order to just select one of these, we need a circle around it, kind of similar to this one. So let's make a circle around this. And for our border, we'll give it this kind of nice bluish border, so it looks like it's selected. And we'll group those two. And this right now is not inside our component, so we just need to make sure we double click in, paste it inside of our component. So you'll see it's in the component when you kind of move it around and you've got that little green border like I mentioned around it. All right, so now it's on yellow, and let's do a new artboard where we select blue. So we can double click in here, move this over to blue, and we'd move this over to blue as well. And like I mentioned before, I'm just gonna do that little hack and change this to blue and bring the blending mode to, what did I do? Hue, I think, yeah. So let's bring this, I just need to send it back a little bit. So this is on top. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and hop back into the prototype tab, and we can tap. We've already got this component state going from open to closed, but we still need to, when we open it, we need to go to the next artboard. So let's double click in here, and then we can drag this over to our blue state, and same within here. There's not really a good way to keep the states the same with the components on every single artboard. So here also we need to go to opened. Oh, actually, we can copy this, paste it over here, bring this to opened. Oh, not the same one. Let's delete that. So we want this one, paste it over here, and from here, we can bring this also to blue. So kind of any instance that you have to do that same sort of thing, unfortunately. But then with here as well, we need to double click in and select that yellow, and we can bring this back to the very first artboard. And auto animate is fine. If you want to just do a normal transition, that's fine too. But yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and preview what we got so far. So if we preview this, we can go over to our blue, looks nice, changes to blue, and we can go back to our yellow. There we go. All right, and I mean, I don't have a ton of more time, but if you did want to, like I showed you at the beginning, didn't get to do any of these, but you could also add as many of these extra little components as you want, show some different metal colors like this, as well as like Photoshop the color of the metal on the actual furniture. So that's how I changed the color in those. You have to have actual separate photos of the furniture itself to do that. So yeah, all right, well that's about it. Let's go ahead and Command S to save. And as always, if you do want to share this as a prototype on, Behance or wherever, you can come up here to your preview button, do desktop preview, and you would just press this little record button right here, and then it would show you this little circle, and it can show you hopping around from each of your interactions. And then just press the record button again to stop it, and you can save it wherever you want. So let's cancel that. And if you just want to save it as a regular PNG, you can do that too. Select the artboard, go up here to File, Export, and Selected. You can save it wherever you want. All right. Thank you guys. Love the color. Thanks, Rosie. All right, so now, of course, if you are sharing on Behance, make sure you go to your project, go over to Edit, and in Settings, we've got this keyword that you can share with. It's XD Daily Challenge, so we can find your work and give you feedback if you'd like it. So that's how you add the keyword. And now, one of my favorite parts, let's look at some of you guys' work from the last few days. So I'm just searching with that keyword, XD Daily Challenge, and I don't have a ton of time, but I do want to look at maybe one or two. So let's look at this one. This is by Jay Swanson. Did I look at this one yesterday? I can't remember. All right, and this was the sound. Ooh, do you guys hear the sounds? That looks awesome. Take a walk. Drink some water. I don't know if you guys could hear that last sound, but it was a little bit ominous. Okay. Guess that's the scary part of your tasks. All right, let's see. Yesterday we worked on the scheduling, the school portal sort of app with scheduling and such. And drag and drop. Okay, so this one's by Chris. Ooh, you took it a new direction. Oh, with some dog training. This is so cute. I love it. Happy dog training. Yeah, you used your drag and drop, I can tell, for all of your dog photos. Class member chat. All of the dogs are chatting. I love that. All right, guys, that's about all the time that we have left for today. Unfortunately, thank you so much for joining me over these last 2 weeks. And we'll have a new host next Monday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And don't go anywhere, because in about 5 minutes, we've got office hours with Andrew Hockrattle and Nick Longo. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.